Okay, so what we're going to do tonight is just, we're going to talk about document examination and a little bit about how we do that, and then the winter at Valley Forge, and then I'm going to have you, the assignment that's associated with this is to summarize the letter that we're going to examine, but you're also going to answer some more questions besides just the summary of the letter, okay? Okay, great. So what I'm going to do is share my screen. And I haven't used this program in a few months, so bear with me. I am opening up the textbook. So the document that we're going to examine is in the textbook. Have you been using the online textbook, or did you get a paper version from your school? Oh, great. How do you like it? Good. Okay, I like it too. I think it's really interactive, and if you use all the components, it can really help you understand if you're having trouble understanding. Okay, so now I should be sharing my screen. Do you see the textbook? Well, now I can't see you. Just a minute. There we go. Oops, whoops, whoops. Sharing the wrong screen. Exit. Okay, wait. Let me bring this over. There we go. And now. Okay, now you should be seeing the textbook. Do you see the textbook now? Okay, great. Sorry about that. Okay. So Chapter 6, Lesson 2 is where we are. And I believe the letter is right here. Okay. So can you see that very well? Looks kind of small. Yes, okay, great. If not, you can always go back in, obviously, to the textbook and examine it further. I'm going to see, though, if I can just make it a little bit bigger. Oh, I can, great. Okay, so when we're talking about analyzing primary sources, we are going to look at several things. When it was written, so you need to think about what was going on at this time, at the time period in history. We're looking at who it was written to, who it's from, or who wrote it. You're just kind of thinking about all the things that are going on in the context of in this case, a letter, but in the context of a primary source. Remember, a primary source is a source, a document written by or created by somebody who was at the actual event. Okay, so this primary source was taken from a book written in 1851, which is much later than the letter, right? So the book written about the life of General Washington is actually a secondary source, but the book includes primary sources in it. Does that make sense? Kind of like a textbook. Our textbook has primary sources in it, but our textbook is a secondary source. Okay, so you can see this is a letter from George Washington to Governor George Clinton. and it gives you the date that it was written. So we can figure out from the information they give us that it was written from the headquarters of Valley Forge. And do you know anything about what's going on in the winter at Valley Forge? No? Okay, great. So have you gotten this far in the course yet, Megan? Not yet. Okay, that's fine. So at this point in the Revolutionary War, Washington, things aren't looking good. Okay, there's some morale, low morale, and there's a lot going on it's not looking good for the Americans. Okay, so let's go ahead and read the letter, and I'm going to read it out loud, and you can follow along. Dear Sir, it is with great reluctance I trouble you on a subject which does not properly fall within your province, but it is a subject that occasions me more distress than I have felt since the commencement of the war. So what do you think he's saying right there? Because he's using a lot of like big words that middle school kids might not be familiar with. Why is he writing this guy? It's okay if you don't know. You don't know. Okay, that's fine. So George Washington is the leader of the revolution right now. He is the general, and he's in charge of the entire army. Okay, and he's writing a governor who has some power. Okay, and I know this because I read the rest of the letter. But it's a great reluctance. So great reluctance means like he doesn't really want to be writing this letter. Okay, he's unsure about whether he should be writing this letter. He's reluctant. It's with great reluctance I trouble you on a subject which does not properly fall within your province. That means that the governor really isn't supposed to be dealing with this. It does not properly fall within your province. That means it's not really the governor's problem. Okay, so he's kind of starting off with saying, like, I'm really sorry that I'm writing you this letter. I know you really don't have anything to do with it, but, okay. Then he says, but, and he's going to explain why. It's a subject that occasions me more distress, you know, like he's very upset about it, than I have felt since the commencement, the beginning of the war. Okay, so he's saying, like, I know I'm really not supposed to be bothering you with this, but I'm really upset about this. Okay, so, you know, he's starting out, and it kind of leads you in, and you're thinking, well, what is he so upset about? And maybe he's trying to get the governor to feel sorry for him, or I don't know. And which loudly demands the most zealous exertions of every person of weight and authority who is interested in the success of our affairs. Think about the language he's using there. It's loudly demands zealous exertions of every person of weight and authority. So he's kind of telling the governor, like, you have weight and authority. So he's kind of appealing to maybe his ego. Who is interested in the success of our affairs. So basically he's saying, like, anybody who wants to see the United States succeed or the America succeed really needs to be interested in this. So do you see how he's leading us up? This letter is like leading the reader into this interest and, like, what is he going to tell me? What's going on? Okay. I mean the present dreadful situation of the Army for want of provisions and the miserable prospects before us with respect to futurity. Okay, so he's saying that there's a dreadful situation. Provisions are the supplies that the Army needs. Okay, so there's they want provisions. They don't have enough provisions. And how do you think that would affect an Army to not have enough provisions? I kind of led you into this. It's good or pretty bad? It's bad, yeah. Okay. It is more alarming than you will probably conceive. So he's saying, like, you might think this is bad, but it's worse than you could even imagine. Okay. To form a just idea of it, it were necessary to be on the spot. So he's saying you really have to be here to really understand how bad this is. For some days past, there has been little less than a famine in camp. Okay, you know what a famine is? No? Okay, well, a famine is when people are starving to death, when there's not enough food. Okay, so he's saying it's almost a famine, a little less than a famine. Okay, famine is a strong word. A part of the army has been a week without any kind of meat. He says flesh. Okay, they kind of give you an idea of what that means. A whole week without meat for, men who are fighting and exerting a lot of energy, that's a big deal. And rest for 3 or 4 days. So they haven't had meat or rest for 3 or 4 days. Maybe they're eating stale bread. It says, naked and starving as they are, we cannot enough admire the incomparable patience and fidelity of the soldiery. So he's saying they're suffering, but they're still patient and loyal. Fidelity means they're loyal. They're not running away right now, or at least not all of them. That they have not been, ere this, excited by their suffering to a general mutiny and dispersion. And here he doesn't mean excited the way we use excited. He means upset. Okay? So they have not been yet so upset by their suffering that they mutiny and disperse. Do you know what a mutiny is? Okay, so he's saying that, like, he's kind of worried that they're going to take over. They're going to overthrow him. That's what a mutiny is for those, this is for the recording, so people who don't know. Dispersion means they flee the army. They leave the army. And that would be a disaster for the army at this point. Strong symptoms, however, of discontent have appeared in particular instances. So he is saying that there are some signs in particular instances that people are unhappy. Okay? And nothing but the most active efforts everywhere can long avert so shocking a catastrophe. So he needs lots of help wherever he can get it to avoid this catastrophe that he is anticipating. Okay? So, do you have any questions about the letter so far? Okay, when you get to this assignment, Megan, you can feel free to email me any questions, obviously, okay? All right, so one of the things that you're going to have to do in this assignment, which it will be repeated in the assignment as well, is to summarize the letter in your own words. I don't want any quotes from the letter. I don't want paraphrasing, which is where you just change some of the words around. It needs to be a true summary. Okay, that just means I just want a couple sentences on what this guy is saying, what General Washington is saying. Okay, also, we're going to be talking about how this event, the winter of Valley Forge, affected the Army. Okay, you're going to want to learn about that when you're reading in this chapter, particularly this lesson. And what was the other? There was one more thing I was going to have you guys do. Just a minute. Sorry. Whoops. Let me take that. I'm just looking it up. I wrote it down in a document. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is, number one, how did the Winter Valley Forge affect the war? Okay, that's more of a deeper question. But I also want to know some simpler questions, like why was the winter so hard, so difficult, and how did the troops deal with the harsh conditions? So not only are you summarizing, but you're also answering those questions within your summary. You could do it within your summary, I suppose, but it's all within the same assignment. And that is about it. So do you have any other questions, Megan? No? Okay, well, thanks for coming. I'm so excited. And I'm going to go ahead and log off. And if you have any questions about this particular assignment when you actually get to it, don't hesitate to ask. Okay? All right, have a good night.